Have you ever wondered how long your retirement savings will last? Watch this before you cash out your 401k. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how long your money might last depending on how much you invest, whether it's 500,000, 1 million, or more, and how much you withdraw each year. I've built a chart that models real-life scenarios, including inflation, investment returns, and dividend income. You'll see how smart planning or a single misstep can make all the difference. Welcome back to Simply Money. So today I'm going to walk you through the chart on how long your money will last. We're going to input some various figures and look at some different scenarios to see and give you an idea how long your money might last. If this is something you enjoy and you'd like to know a specific figure, you'd like to know a specific amount or a dividend return, any kind of information, once you watch this, leave a comment down below on what you'd like to see the scenario look like, and I'll run another video with those numbers just for you. All right, so here we go. Let's look at the chart. I'm going to walk you through the chart real quick, and we'll see what it's made of, what it does, and how it could help you. So over here, we have the variable inputs. This stuff in yellow is what you can change. We have our starting portfolio balance, the income that we need each year. And so these are all things we can change. What the annual return rate for our portfolio, what we expect. So we can put, if we think it's going to do really well, we can be a little more conservative. We can change that. And that way we can look and say, okay, this was what we expect. But what would happen if maybe the lower end of returns over the next 10, 20 years happens? How will I fare? And I'm going to stick right now for 3%. I know we've seen higher than that, but the average long-term has been 3%. We're running this for 40 years. So those who are looking to retire early, maybe 55, this would run until you're 95. If you're not retiring until you're 65, this would run until you're 105. So it definitely goes into the longevity, so you can really see, what if I lived a really long life. But it can also, you can look at the chart at various time frames to see where you're at. We're going to also look here at inflation adjusted withdrawals. So we're marking yes. If you wanted to not see it inflated for whatever reason, we can type in no there, and it takes away the inflation adjustment that happens each year. So your withdrawals would stay, like on this scenario right here, with $50,000 is what we need. Your withdrawal would stay the same year after year after year. Maybe you have another source of income that is inflation adjusted, and your withdrawal is just a little supplement to that, and you're not so worried about whether it'll stay with inflation because the majority of maybe your pension, Social Security, or some other income that you have will keep up with inflation. So I put that in there for an option. Then we have our dividend yield. Right now we're going to be using starting out with the S&P 500, which is currently yielding 1.29, so it rounds up to 1.3%. And we're going to put the dividend growth rate. How fast is that dividend growing year over year? I'm using the 10-year average on the S&P 500 is 10%. So I'm going to go ahead on a conservative level. I'm going to start with 7%. I've used this chart with SCHD and done the same thing. What if it did maintain its 10% annual growth rate on the dividend, and then also but what if over the next 10, 20 years, it's a little lower? So we can adjust that. It makes it nice to be able to adjust and see best case scenarios, the middle of the road, or worst case scenarios, what would happen with my portfolio. Then we have these two Social Security amounts. You put the amount that you expect to get at the age that you're going to start. So for this person, we have $15,000 at age 62. Their spouse is going to get $7,500 at age 64. And then you have the retirement age. When are they actually going to start this whole portfolio withdrawal? It starts at age 60 on this scenario. And so that would be, we're just going to say starting in 2029. You can put whatever year you want there. So you're seeing the year next to your age. So if you're going to turn 60 in 2026, you just put 2026 here. They're not correlated other than when you're looking at the chart over here, you can see, when I'm 62, it'll be this year. That's just there for reference. It doesn't have any impact on these figures. Now, if you're a single person, you can simply just zero this out, and it doesn't matter what age you have here in the second person, because it's just going to be zeros on that person's income. So you can use this for a single or a married person. So those are your variable inputs. Then over in the chart, we will run this here. I'll start on age 60. You can see the year 2029, starting balance of $500,000. We need $50,000 income. Based on this dividend yield that we have, that would pay $6,450 annually for the dividend. There won't be any Social Security this first year. That means your total income, which is these sources, and you have $6,450. It means you have to withdraw from your portfolio $43,550. This is a little concerning because you can see your withdrawal percentage is 8.71, which is a little high. Some people may feel comfortable with that. I know, like Dave Ramsey talks about, you can withdraw 8% because the average S&P 500 has returned 12% at an inflation. So you're keeping up with that. I would be a little cautious with 8.7% on my withdrawals, but you can see it's only for a couple years, so you'd have to really watch sequence of returns these first few years, which is something that you really have to watch regardless. And that's where having a bucket strategy could come in handy. If the S&P 500 was really down these first couple years, you just live off your cash and then start withdrawing. But we won't get into the bucket strategies today. That's another video for another time. So you can see this is where the end balance, because you don't have any deposit, because you're withdrawing. So your end balance with the rate of return that you input over there would be $483,837. So that carries over to year 2 when you're 61. Your income now is $51,500 because of the inflation. You can see how inflation keeps going up. You continue to need more money each year. This isn't how retirement really works. Retirement isn't linear expenses. Typically, they say you have the smile where you start spending more early, then maybe the middle part of your retirement, you don't spend as much, and then the spending goes back up later in retirement. If you live a longer retirement and start having health issues, that can begin to cause that. So you have the smile effect on your spending. But we put in just a linear based on inflation rate that we put each year requiring more. Because of the CAGR, the dividend growth rate, you can see how the dividend goes up each year, and you can see when Social Security kicks in. So let's look at age 64. When both Social Securities are kicked in, your balance is down to $453,000. You're needing $56,000. Your dividend payment is up to $7,600. You have $16,800 for your Social Security 1, $7,500 for Social Security 2. That brings your total income to $32,000, meaning you have to withdraw $24,000 from this portfolio, which is 5.35%. And then you have your balance based on the rate of return. So as you can see with this scenario, with a $500,000 portfolio, needing $50,000 a year, with these rates that we put in these Social Securities, you can see here that you would maintain for the first 10 years, then you'd start seeing a little bit of increase, and then you'd actually see if you lived a long 40 years into retirement, if you continued at that rate, you would actually begin to start depositing money because you would need less than you were withdrawing. As you can see down here, age 83, your balance has gone up to $722,000. You need $98,000. Your dividend payments have grown to $27,000. Your Social Security is $51,000, $22,000. So it brings your total income up to $101,000. You don't have to withdraw anything. You actually have excess, where you could actually deposit money back into your retirement. It's just how this scenario goes, how I have this figured out. Because if you don't need to withdraw all this, you're actually going to be able to deposit money back into your portfolio. So you can see that it would grow. So we can play with this a little bit. Let's just say the annual return is only 5%. You can see we have a little longer of drawdown, and then it begins to go back up. Again, a big concern would be this early on, these higher withdrawal percentages coming out. That's with 5%. Let's say the CAGR is only going to be 3%. It's just basically keeping up with inflation. Now you can see we actually draw down and we run out of money in year, basically at the end of this, right? We basically make it to the end. At 100 years old, we're flat broke in this scenario. Now I wanted to look at couple other scenarios. Let's go with $1 million for those that have it. We're going to be a little bit higher spending. We're looking at $100,000 a year. We're going to go back to the 6% withdrawal, and we'll keep the CAGR at We'll put that at 5%. We'll go a little bit lower than we had it. Now you can see here, this person runs out of money at 80. So even though you start out with more, it's because of your higher spending and we don't have quite as high of a return or CAGR. We run out of money quicker and your Social Security isn't as high. Now, if somebody's needing $100,000 a year, or they've saved $1 million, chances are their Social Security may be higher. So we can go with the average Social Security, which is $2,000 a month. And let's just say this is still the same scenario where they get half of the spouses. Now, in that scenario, so you can see that at 90, they're beginning to actually increase, even though they'd drawn down for a while. So you can just play with this with different scenarios, different numbers. With a $100,000 need, let's say you only have $750,000 in your portfolio. Well, there you're running out of money at 75. So you obviously can't do that if this is what your levels are. But could you do 80,000? Yes. And again, this isn't a guarantee. This is just a scenario. And this is what this is used for. This isn't to say this is what you have to do. This is just a walkthrough scenario, different numbers, different returns, what you could expect, what you think you might get, and it gives you an idea. So these charts prove one thing: how long your money lasts isn't just about how much you have, it's about how much you take out. If you want to test your own scenario, go ahead and drop a comment down below on what kind of numbers you'd like to see run, and I will run that for you, and I'll give you a shout out when I make that video, and we can go through your specific numbers or your inquiry. Maybe they're not your numbers, maybe they're numbers you're wondering, like what would happen if I do save this much or if I have this much. But don't leave your future to chance. Model it smartly and live it confidently. I made this for my own personal use, and I'm sharing it on the channel for those who are interested in using it. I use a Monte Carlo as well. I have some other charts I've done that I use. I like running numbers, different scenarios. It just builds my confidence. The more I plug in numbers and different calculators and models, not one is exactly the same and none of them are guaranteed, but it gives you that sense of security that you're seeing a pattern, that these different calculators, these different scenarios are working for me. I can retire. And perhaps you can retire earlier than you expected because you don't need as much as you thought you did. And this can help you determine that. Again, you'll have to make your own decision on this. This isn't financial advice saying, yeah, go ahead and retire. But this is just to give you a guideline and some information to help you make wise decisions. If you found this video informative, go ahead and hit that like button for me. It helps out the channel, and I do really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe so you're notified of future videos. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you next time on Simply Money.